Hey guys, and welcome. I apologize for going MIA, but I was so busy moving. Clearly, I'm in a different spot, and there's still so much to be done with this setup and everything else, but I am just so happy to be able to finally record. And as luck would have it, even with Christmas and New Year's, packing, unpacking, I obviously did not go seeking out these movies. I stumbled upon some real interesting slash questionable movies, and I liked some of them better than others, but unquestionably, they were all very unique and they deserve a spot on this list. So, if you're curious what features made me say, what the fuck did I just watch this time? Let's get into it. The first movie I want to talk about is a French film called Titan. Titan opens with a car accident. A young girl named Alexia fights with her father in the back seat. She unbuckles, the car swerves, and her skull hits the window, which honestly makes a pretty bad sound. Personally, I didn't think she was going to get out of it alive, but she did. Due to the accident, the doctors place a titanium plate in her head. Then there's this scene which really foreshadows what's to come as Alexia, upon leaving the hospital, looks at the car with nothing but deep love in her eyes, after which she embraces the machine in a hug. The movie then cuts to her as an adult who works as a show model at car events. These early scenes set the tone. Machines feel safer to her than people, which I guess alludes to the fact that she's part titanium herself. One night at a car show, Alexia lies across a bright custom vehicle. After the crowd leaves, she returns to the car alone. The scene gets very strange. The vehicle rocks, the seatbelts tighten around her wrists, and the movie implies a sexual encounter between her and the car. At which point, I already figured the movie was going to be a weird one. You don't see that very often. Soon after, the murders begin. And honestly, the protagonist is kind of a bitch. Alexia kills a fan who follows her into a parking lot. And okay, this guy sort of deserved it. But she then is incredibly rough with her coworker, whom she's been dating. She then kills said coworker and the coworker's roommates for no reason whatsoever. The titanium plate seems linked to her emotional detachment, but the film never explicitly states it. Her situation changes when she learns she's pregnant. The pregnancy shifts the film into new territory. Seriously, the film then does a 180 and becomes a completely different movie. As often happens during pregnancy, black oil leaks from her body. Her stomach forms hard edges, and the link between her and the car becomes more literal. You start wondering, is she pregnant with the car's baby? And this development pushes her into a corner, because she can't hide these changes for long. So she goes on a run. And to avoid detection, she breaks her nose and binds her chest. She cuts her hair and presents herself as Adrian, a long missing boy. When the police pick her up, the boy's father, Vincent, arrives and claims her without any hesitation. Despite police offering DNA tests in order to prove that Adrian is in fact his son, after all, he'd been missing for 10 years, but Vincent does not want to hear about it, and he says that he recognizes his own son. Vincent leads a fire brigade and carries deep grief. He accepts her return with no questions, which is very questionable. Vincent sees a son he has waited for, and he believes that Adrian, has stopped speaking due to trauma, and he doesn't want to push or put any further pressure on his newfound son. Alexia, now Adrian, moves into the firehouse. The men treat Vincent like a father figure, so by extension, they try to treat Adrian with respect. However, there's clear tension as the firefighters can tell something is off. Despite her taping her body, presenting masculine, and not giving the men any clear hints as to her real identity, you can tell that sooner or later, this house of cards is bound to fall apart. The dynamic between Vincent and Alexia grows more complicated. As the pregnancy advances, the odd moments increase. Her body produces more oil, and her bindings tear during movement. She tries to keep the firehouse routine intact, but Vincent grows suspicious. The audience waits for him to confront her, but he just continues to protect her. And the final act arrives when the physical changes are impossible to hide. Alexia goes into labor. Vincent stands beside her with full awareness of her identity and her condition. The birth scene presents the film's last shock, a baby with a metal spine. Honestly, kind of sick. While the mother dies during childbirth, Vincent holds the child and accepts it without hesitation. The movie ends on his face as he tells the baby, "I'm here." And honestly, this one was a doozy. I thought a lot of the cinematography was great, but I really disliked the protagonist, who clearly spent the majority of the movie being incredibly selfish. And not only did she violently kill multiple people who were nothing but kind to her, she also posed as a missing child. I also wasn't a fan of the having a baby with a car part of the movie either. And although I know that there are themes of trauma and other things, I just couldn't get down with it. I don't know if I thought the movie was trying too hard, but it was a no for me. Sorry. And the second movie I wanted to talk about today is called Calvaire. And it begins with a traveling singer named Mark Stevens. He performs at retirement homes and drives from one small venue to another. His routine feels simple: sing, smile, collect payment, and leave all the women he meets smitten with him apparently, and move on. I have to say, this guy's got a pretty good voice, good enough for one of the retirees to hit on him after the show as she believes she's so old she may not see him again. On top of that, as he's leaving, a nurse from this retirement home puts some risque pictures of herself into an envelope, which she then hands to Mark. So Mark then leaves and drives through rural Belgium. Rain floods the road, and his van breaks down near a forest. A local man who clearly has some cognitive delays leads him to a remote inn owned by Bartel, a former entertainer who now lives in near isolation. Bartel offers Mark a room and promises to fix the van in the morning. The setting feels harmless at first, but the inn seems neglected, and you can tell that this is just not going to end well. The following day, Mark finds Bartel, who tells him he will attempt working on his van. The protagonist decides to go for a walk, to which Bartel reacts with a plea and tells Mark to not go into the village. Although he doesn't offer any further explanation, he makes Bartel promise that he will stay away. Mark is confused but agrees, and soon after he gets a glimpse of what at least some of the villagers may be like. To be exact, he sees a group of men in what looks like a pigsty gathered around and assaulting a pig. I have to say that whoever did casting for this movie did an amazing job. The men look very simple-minded, and Mark doesn't even try to interfere. He just goes back to the inn. And these early moments signal that social norms in this region have eroded, but the film never explains what happened. Bartel quickly grows attached to Mark. He asks about Mark's career, his relationships, his life on the road, and Mark offers polite answers, unaware that Bartel listens with obsessive focus. There's a scene where Bartel tells Mark a bad joke to prove that he too is a talented performer, and expects Mark to return the favor and sing for him. His guest feels uncomfortable, but finally obliges, sings a few sentences, and tries to excuse himself from dinner. Then the tone shifts as Bartel's friendly demeanor changes. He expects Mark to continue with the song. Further pressure and guilt-tripping results in Mark, clearly very uncomfortable, finishing the song. And at this point it's clear that there's something off it's just hard to put your finger on it. Bartel is giving off some red flags, but nothing too extreme. And Mark obviously doesn't want to come off as impolite. And the following morning, the movie takes yet another big turn as we find Bartel pouring gasoline over his guest's car and setting it on fire. Mark, in his attempts to make him stop, gets hit in the head with a shovel and passes out. The situation he finds himself in next is not at all what I was expecting it to be. The movie moves into its central conflict once Bartel's delusion surfaces. He believes Mark resembles his former partner, Gloria, who once left him. He begins to treat Mark as if he were Gloria returned. Mark obviously rejects the idea, and that sets off Bartel's rage. Bartel assaults him and restrains him inside the inn. He then forces Mark into women's clothing, applies makeup, and demands obedience. He reframes Mark's identity inside his own fractured memory. Once they confirm Mark's presence, the villagers invade the inn. Just when I thought that there's either a chance that they might free him or, I don't know, rob him, assault him, whatever, they look at Mark and see Gloria as well. The men too were in love with Bartel's ex-partner, and they are not taking Mark's explanations for an answer. They truly believe that Gloria has come back, and this time they will not let her get away. Mark escapes during the chaos and flees into the woods. The forest scenes add to the film's disorientation. The terrain offers no clear direction, and Mark moves with growing panic. One of the men pursues Mark despite his injuries. His fixation overrides pain and reason. The man chasing Mark collapses, still calling Mark Gloria. The film closes on Mark alone, exhausted and stripped of certainty. There's no rescue, no order, and I had so many questions after this movie ended. And despite perusing the internet for any sort of answer, I found no real conclusions. Despite the movie being extremely odd, I actually quite enjoyed it. The acting was great. The movie was full of surprises, and I thought the ending was exactly what it should have been. I would recommend this madness to anyone who's looking for a wild ride. Thank you so much for watching, as always. It's so good to be back, and if you have seen any weird movies lately, let me know in the comments down below. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, please like and or subscribe. And I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.